Hi, I'm Zoe Starr, and welcome to Paranormal Extraction on my show. This is number 2 of Darrell Denton, the second show, okay? And this one is called Seeing Orbs and Being Followed Home, okay, by one of these things, and terrorized. Now, I know you've listened to the first one. Absolutely crazy. I have dealt with people around Bigfoot. Never heard anything so absolutely crazy, insane, whatever this thing was. What do you call that again, Darrell?
Woodburger.
The Woodburger. Okay, so anyways, that's the Woodburger, guys, and you can look it up, all right? So we have Darrell on. We know that he, was the commissioner and mayor of Robertson County, Tennessee for 24 years. And he is partners with the world-known researchers on Bigfoot now. And we spoke about that during the first one. Thank you, everybody, for your prayers. You already know what I said before. And I just want to say that this is absolutely amazing to have him on. I hope you enjoy the second half of this show. Now you can see why I had to break it up into 2 shows. Darrell Denton. Oh my God, we're on episode 2. Seeing orbs and then being followed home and being terrorized. Okay, everybody make sure you watch episode 1. Absolutely crazy. And I just want to make sure that if you haven't, you know where to find an authentic, real Bigfoot page on Facebook. Darrell, hi again.
Hey, Zoe. Thanks for having me again.
Yeah.
We're on Bigfoot Believers and Other Creatures is the group that I put together in February of 22. And like I said again, it's my group, but I don't claim it all. I've got so many people that it belongs to, including my great admins, and I have great ones too. They couldn't find better ones, and same with my moderators and experts. So, but it's Bigfoot Believers and Other Creatures, and we are a no criticism group. So if you get your feelings hurt for trying to criticize, don't join, because we don't criticize. We hear encounters, people's stories, and we try to be open-minded. If you don't believe it, just scroll on to something else. So, but I appreciate you being here. Thank you for having me again.
Yeah, and I just want to say, I do swear sometimes, it's a no bullshit site. No CGI, none of that crap. So, whenever I post something, I'm like really particular. I try to be. Anyways, so, okay, let's go for it. So, you tell us about this story about, which I find is really weird because, I was telling Dee about the title and he's like, Seeing Orbs. And I'm like, yeah, that's what he wants to talk about. So let's go for the story. And what happened on that one?
Yeah, it was actually in 2018, and real briefly, but before that, I befriended a nice, friendly, what I call forest people. I do think there's a difference between forest people and Bigfoot. So on the river, and I completely changed my thought pattern after my first experience. Thank God it did. But
yeah.
Anyway, this was in 2018. I don't remember exactly what month it was. I think it was around January or February. But I had a good friend named Billy Howell that I researched with in Chetham County, Tennessee. And he had called me up and said our friend David is having problems down at his home, and he thinks, he don't know what it is, but he wanted to know if we would come down there. And we actually went down there, and his girlfriend had these creatures that were looking in her window at night. And he at that time had driven across the country once a week. He drives a truck for a living from Nashville to New York, and he was gone most of the week. And she was scared to death. These things were looking in her window and stealing believe vegetables off the deck and other things like that. So we had went down there and looked around the area and found evidence and tracks in the area where they were coming in at it. We started going there regularly and started gifting these creatures, and I don't recommend everybody do that because a lot of times when you quit gifting, they will get upset. But we were trying basically for the reason to keep them away from the house. So Billy would take different things down there throughout the week, and then I would take some things down there, and they would start to come into the gifting area, and I didn't witness them a lot. Billy's seen them more than I did, but this particular area is, like I said, Chetham County, Tennessee, and we have been going down there quite a while, and I actually had experience of a juvenile walking pretty close to me, looking at me, and going back into the woods, and Billy had seen a tall one next to the deck of the house that he said was probably 12 foot from the distance from the ground to
that's
where
the biggest one. That's the biggest one I've heard of. And let me just...
Billy's pretty credible. I've never seen biggest one I've ever seen is about 8 foot. So.
Right.
And did see a male down there that was probably about 8 foot. So I caught the sight of him going into some woods and some bushes area, real thick. And a juvenile and a female had been witnessed several times. But they were there, and we had been going down there for quite a while, and we would go in at night, and we'd go back behind his house, and it's real thick and wooded back there. And we would kind of split up. He would get to the bottom of the hill or the top, and I would go vice versa, and we would actually just sit there and wait for him to come in at night to try to really befriend them and try to get them to understand that we were not there to harm them and not to harm her or anybody in the house, and that was our reason for going there. And
right,
we've been going there for quite a while, and all of a sudden one night we were there, and I was sitting between a tree up on the hill, and Billy was fairly close to me, probably 50 feet down the hill from me, and I'd seen this light coming through the woods of the area they were coming through. It was about the size of a light bulb. It's very, this is going to sound crazy, but it actually, it's honest to God truth. And this thing was coming down the hill. It looked like a light bulb coming, walking on the ground, which is just moving across the ground really slow. And I watched it come down a hill, probably 100 yards from me, and it got closer and closer. It come through a ravine, and I lost it to the ravine. Then I seen it come up over the ravine as it was walking toward me, and this thing was coming right to me. And I'm sitting on a tree that had 2 big forks in it, big tree, and I'm sitting there in a chair behind it, and this thing's coming to me, and I'm thinking, what is this? And it was like a glowing light bulb.
Oh my God! And this is
on the ground, and it come closer and closer, and I actually had a .45 automatic pistol in my side holster, and it got closer, and it was within about 2 foot of me, and I was getting kind of weirded out because I'd never seen anything like that. And about that time, Billy hit a light, and it lit up this light bulb that was about 2 foot from me. I already had my gun drawn because I didn't know what it was. And when he hit the light, this thing turned into an opossum. And it just looked right at me. It hissed, opened its mouth, it turned around and turned into a regular opossum, whatever you want to call it. And it walked back to the same direction that it came from. And it was a fairly light night. It may have been a full moon, but I couldn't see it good, but I could see the figure of it walking back to where it came from as I watched it walk away. And
wait a second. I mean, this is weird, okay? Because I've never heard of, like you're saying, it was an orb, okay? You saw what you saw, okay? It's not like you saw an opossum coming down the hill. You know,
no, it was like a light bulb on the ground.
and then it turning into an opossum. I mean,
Correct.
I haven't heard of that either. I mean, this is another weird experience. So
That pretty much weirded me out too, but you know, we had, I guess it was 15 to 30 minutes later, we seen these two huge balls about the size of beach balls. They were right next to each other. They came down somewhere from the top of the trees, and they were hovering. They came all the way down. They were probably about a foot off the ground, and they were just sitting next to each other in the same area that this possum had came from, and they were just sitting there. They looked like they were pulsating. They were like orange, red, and even some pink, and it's hard to explain. They looked like they were lights pulsating inside of them, and we watched those things for a little bit, and I was getting pretty freaked out because I'd never seen anything like this. And the lady at the house, Billy had his cell phone with him, and I did too, but she had called, and I heard the phone ring, and he answered it. She said, "Get to the house. These things are at the house." And we took, the Bigfoot, whatever whatever you call them. These were Bigfoot, Sasquatch were at the house, and she could hear them moving around her house. And so we took off running back there. And before we got back, I don't know how far distance we were. We had our trucks parked in our driveway, but our truck alarms went off, and they were blasting full blast. And David, who lived there, had just come home, and he had a Ford F-250 dually sitting behind our two vehicles in the drive, and his alarm was going off. All three of these alarms are just blasting.
Oh my God.
And I don't know what makes alarms like that go off, but they were going off, and we got back to the house, and we didn't see any creatures, so we're trying to stop these alarms, and they won't stop. And these things went on for a long time till they finally just went off by themselves. And I tried to start the vehicle, he did, the alarm still rang, and it finally just went off by itself, and it was just weird. I don't know what happened, but that was the night that I got kind of a sick feeling. He did. I don't know if it was, I feel like I was zapped by something, as they call it, and I actually laid down in my vehicle for a while, and he got in his vehicle, and we kind of fell asleep for a little bit and woke up, and the next morning we got out and looked around, and all three of us, including David, who lived there, tried to push these vehicles as hard as we could to make the alarms go off, and we couldn't make them go off. So something, some way had set them off, and I think we had zapped that night, or infrasound, what everybody wants to call it. My close friend BArton, Nunnelly, Martin Groves, thinks it's a type of radiation, but whatever it was, I had a headache and I felt sick, and I don't know if Billy felt as sick as I did, but my watch, the strange thing is my watch had stopped at 12:48, and that was about the time all this took place, and never figured out that, but it stopped. How does your watch just stop? But it did. The next morning we looked around after we tried to get these things set off, the alarms, and we couldn't get them. On the back of David's truck was a massive handprint, and I have a big hand, but this handprint was about twice the size of mine. It was on the tailgate in the dust, where something had put its hand up there, and I don't know where that came from. I guess one of the creatures had put that up there, and because nobody had a hand that size, and set these alarms off somehow. So that was strange enough, and I was kind of weirded out about it because I'd never experienced anything like this before. So we were down there a week later, and it was raining that night. The same area Billy had a little plastic like deer blind that you sit on the ground, and we had set it up where we had been setting, and we were in it. It was just a drizzle type rain to keep from getting wet. It had windows in it. And all of a sudden, these white orbs, about the size of a softball, just started flying in the woods all around us. there was 5 to 7 of them. I believe there might have been 6, but we watched them for a while. They would just come in and fly around us and around the trees, the treetops, and I got weirded out. I said, man, let's leave. Let's get out of here. So we left.
I mean, this almost sounds like a UAP or UFO, like type of experience.
I don't know what it was. I've never seen an alien. I've never seen a UFO that I'm aware of. But whatever it was, I think they're all connected anyway, in my personal opinion. But
yeah.
Anyway, that went on for just long enough for me to want to go, and we left. And we talked during the week. I said, man, I don't think I'm about going down there for a couple of weeks. Let's take a break. And we did. We didn't go down there. And we did. Billy kept going down there. And their favorite top food that they liked. And again, this wasn't the Bigfoot that done this. Maybe it was them and some type of energy. I don't know that. I've heard that's what they do. But I don't know that for sure. It's just an educated guess of what I've heard, but we still kept gifting them some. He did, I didn't. And they love cantaloupes and they love bacon. That was their fried cooked bacon. They would come in and get that, and they enjoyed it. That was the food they liked. So, but anyway, I didn't go back for a couple of weeks, and Billy had been going back still and gifting, and I just decided to stay away from down there for a while. And I live on a farm about 30 miles from there, and all of a sudden, 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, something just started, and this went on for about 2.5 months, probably about June, July, and part of August at my home. Something would just start banging on the side of my house like somebody had a ball bat hitting me at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was just trying to sleep, and I woke up hearing all this noise, and I went outside with my gun and looked around the house and didn't see anything, and I come back in there and start on the other side of the house and banging real loud, and this went on for a couple of nights, and I was starting to really get weirded out, like, what is going on?
Yeah.
I never had anything like that at my house, and it still just kept going on, and I would start to the point where I couldn't sleep at night, and I would just be waiting on it to start. And they banged so hard one night on the right side of my house, if you're facing it, that the actual pictures were jarring on the wall, and I was thinking, what is this doing this? And I went outside again, still didn't see anything, and so it started making me feel like something's in my house, on outside of my house trying to get in. Then I had maybe 20 or 25 cats that mainly stayed in my barn, in my stable. I had two horses on the right side of my driveway when you come in my stable, and those were a stud horse that I called Star, and another horse that was an old Tennessee Walker called Trey. They stayed in that stable at night, and there was a street light at the very end of my drive, right in the corner of the fenced-in area around the stable, and to the left side of my barn was on the left side, and the stable was on the opposite side on the far end. And on the left side, I had a mare that was the stud horse's mother named Sissy, and another horse named Brandy that stayed in the barn. And I put them in the stall every night. And they started going crazy at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and they were I thought they were going to tear the door down to get out. So I went out in the middle of the night and went down my drive and with my gun and looked all around the stable, cut the lights on down there in the stable and behind it, and didn't see anything. Same thing in the barn. They got to the point where none of the horses would go in the barn or the stable. I couldn't even get them they wouldn't go in there at all.
Oh my gosh.
And they would stay at the very far corner, very closer to the house where there's a big street light on both of those corners of the fence. Mm-hmm. And I had a large row of hay there where they would eat hay. And that's what the light was for, where it would illuminate the area too, where I could kind of see that area at night. But I never had any problems there with anything, and just regular animals, plenty of coyotes around there. And but they were terrified. They wouldn't go in the barn. They would stay on the end next to the street light, and had a real difficult time trying to get them calmed down. And this went on for, they never went back in the stable or the stall or the barn.
Oh my God.
So this was going on every night for quite a while. And all these cats I had that weren't my cats, they were just cats that came there.
Yeah.
But they would come to they lived in the barn, and they would stay at the top of the stable, and they had kittens there, just farm cats mainly. But I had a cat that stayed on my front porch, and I had a large front porch.
Okay, so you had this nice barn cat, it sounds like, that hung out on your...
Yeah, you want me to start now?
Yeah.
Okay, these cats, I put cat food on the porch at night, and those cats would come up, and some of them were kind of wild, and some of them weren't. They were friendly, some of them. But I had a mother cat on the porch and a little cat house in the very corner, and she was always on the front porch, and she had kittens. There was 3 of them, and all the cats would come up there at night when I went in, and they would eat cat food I put out for them.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I heard all kinds of noise outside the house that one night. And the next day, when I went out, there was the mother cat was dead on the porch, and all the kittens were ripped apart.
Oh my God.
I started finding cats all over that were dead, that had been killed, and I didn't know why they were being killed, but it killed about all the cats. The horses were still terrified at night, and I got to the point where I didn't go to sleep. So I would just sit with my gun ready, my rifle, my shotgun, and my, I actually had a 270 automatic that I've sat waited with, and also a pistol that I carried, and I was just at the point where I didn't know what to do. And this kept going on, and I went out on the porch one morning to drink some coffee, and I looked straight ahead, and I had 3 big sycamore trees on a creek that ran between my barn and ran into a larger creek that fed to a lake across the road from me. And there were these big sycamores, and the smaller one in the middle was still a good-sized tree. And I just looked straight ahead, and I noticed that the whole top of this tree, this was a big tree. It wasn't as big as the other 2, but probably a good 6 inches, a 6-inch limb right at where it started breaking apart at the top was broken, and it was still attached, but it was just snapped, and it was laying down toward the ground. I said, how did that happen? Because there was no storms or anything. It was the only tree that was broken right in front of me. This is probably 60, 70 yards from my front porch. So I walked down there, and I seen where something had just snapped it, and it was leaning down, touching the ground. The green leaves were, and I thought, well, what has done this? And I looked around the tree, and I started seeing these huge tracks, like Bigfoot tracks. I knew what they were.
Oh my
God! Then I knew. Well, I got some Bigfoot that are mad at me for some reason. I don't know why, but they were, and so I just kept going on. So one night I knew what time they were coming in, and I had what's called a round pen that you put your horse in, and you can ride around this round pen when you're trying to break them. And I took this round pen apart. It has pins, you stick it together. It's a metal gate top thing, and I put it across the right side, the back of my house, where it went into the woods, trying to make them come to the left side, these creatures, trying to make them where I could find where they were coming in at. And that worked, and I got on my screened-in porch, which was connected to my kitchen that overlooked my swimming pool. And I had a Coke machine and a freezer back there. I just sat down in between that with my guns, and I waited on them to come in. That was in the evening. About 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, I seen one come out of the woods, and it was a Bigfoot, and it was kind of bent over a little bit. It was slowly walking out, and then it seen me, and I guess smelled me, seen me or something. I was real quiet, but I moved just a little bit, and it ran back into the woods. So I realized then for sure that I had a Bigfoot or a couple of them or whatever it was that was doing this. And so then I was really kind of thinking, why are they doing this? I was pretty scared about it, really, because I didn't understand why they were banging on my house. And they started banging on my pool house one night, back behind the pool. I had a little pool house where my kids weren't living with me because me and my ex were divorced, and they lived about 20 miles away. And they were banging on my pool house this one night on the back of it, and so I got both guns and went out the back door and went to the back and didn't see anything, but they had damaged the pool house a little bit, tore the panel on it loose, and I was at the point I didn't know what I was going to do because this was going on every night, and I had a friend at that time. I was involved in politics for about 26 years. I wasn't elected that whole time. It's a small town in Robertson County, and I went. I had one of my police officers. I'll just use his first name, Dave. I said, Dave, when you're patrolling tonight, if you have a chance and I want to call, would you please drive down my driveway? I had a long driveway. It was 3,300 feet from the road, and it came all the way up, went around the back of my house. And I said, would you just drive up the driveway if you're not doing anything and use your spotlight and see if you see anything around 2 to 3 o'clock in the morning? And he had done that a couple of times that night. We didn't see anything that night, but and they didn't come out that night. I don't know why, but I had a friend named Gary and another friend that set the truck out front in my driveway the next night, and they didn't see anything, and they left about 4 o'clock in the morning. I was not being able to sleep for nights because I knew they were going to come out or start. I was afraid they was going to break the door down and come in the house because they were really good. They were angry at me for some reason. I still today don't know why they were, but I come to a realization that there was probably 2 of them because of the tracks, and it wasn't a whole clan or a family. It was 2 of them. And I figured maybe they were the rogue ones from the ones down there that maybe had been kicked out of the clan or something. I don't know how they do all that. That was just a guess. Because I think there were a couple down there that didn't get along, or maybe more than that, with the group down there. I only seen 2 or 3 of those creatures the whole time we were down there, but I didn't see the whole clan, but I could hear them. And Billy had seen a lot more than I had because he was there more often than I was. But I started thinking there was 2 of them that were mad at me, and by this point I was at the point where I didn't know what to do. And I couldn't sleep. They would come back and start banging on the house again. So it started getting worse. It started getting worse at night. They were starting to bang more and make more noise, and they even opened the gates to my pool and bent them a little bit where they'd come in, and that's right back behind the back of my house. And I couldn't see them, but they were so quiet doing it. And so one night it kind of boiled down to a point where they were on my front porch, and I could see them go across the front of my porch. I was sitting in the hallway, and I had a big entranceway in my house when you came in. It had a big round window over my door, and my door was real thick wood door, but it had an oval window in the middle of it, and a window to the left and the right, and I could see. I heard them on the porch, and I thought, well, here they come. They're coming in, and they were on the porch. I could hear them walking on the board, and the floodlights came on, their motion, and they had taken the floodlights out around the pool house. They had unscrewed the bulbs and took the bulbs, but down the front of the house.
That's crazy.
And somebody did. I guess it was them because they were gone. But they were on my front porch, so I got pretty scared, and I was ready to fire through the door if they come toward the door. It was really weird. They were on the front porch. I could hear them walking. I'd seen one go past the window, just a silhouette shadow of it. It was dark right there in front of the door. And about that time, something slammed on the door really hard, and I was ready to fire my gun to the door. And something hit real hard. So by this point, I was just mad. I was at the point where they were going to get me or I was going to get them. And I opened the front door and just went out.
Oh my God.
The front door with my gun ready to fire. And neither one of them were on the porch, but they had thrown a goat on my front door.
Oh my
A dead goat.
God.
It was a goat. It was laying right at my front door, and I opened it. I had to step over. I didn't know what it was at first. That frightened me, but the goat was laying on right at the edge of the door when he opened it. It kind of fell through the door sill, and I thought it was them, but I don't have goats. My neighbors don't have goats. I don't know where it came from, but I went out and sat in the front yard, and I just yelled, if you want to get me, here I am. Come and get me. I was sitting out there with my guns, and I said, let's get it over with, either you or me. And I sat there till daylight. They never came back around and tried to get me. And I don't know where they went. I didn't see them. Well, by the next morning, I was just had enough of it, and I didn't know what to do. And I was actually talking to my friend, not the Mike Patterson, but Michael Patterson, he and I were in a group together back years ago, and still he's in my group now, and I still remember his, but I don't frequent as often. But I told him what was going on. He says, man, you need to call Scott Patterson. And I said, well, I don't know Scott very well, but so Michael had told me what to do, and I think he had called Scott, and he said, rebuke them. And I said, well, what does rebuking them mean? And he said, well, you go to all four corners of your house and you say, please leave my property and my animals alone in the name of Jesus Christ, and do the same thing on your outside property. And so I did it. I did it a couple times actually on my property. I really couldn't go to actually a corner to my property because it made kind of a weird cut the way it was aligned with the actual property map. But I went to 4 areas, tried to make it as what he had told me to do. And I said it a couple times, and that night I went in and I was waiting for him to come back. And it worked. They never bothered me again.
Wow.
I don't know what happened or how it worked, but I've understood since then. Excuse me, if you believe in Jesus Christ and in your heart, that rebuking works for some people, and I do believe that. So it worked for me. So I don't know why they attacked me to this day or why they started doing that in my house. I'm not 100% sure that's the same ones that followed me home, but I'm thinking it was. I'm thinking maybe because I stopped gifting them down there. That's all I can think of.
Yeah.
But,
wow.
I don't know the real reason, but that's just my own guess on it. But the rebuking worked, and I didn't see them anymore. They didn't come back, but my horses were still. They never changed. They wouldn't go back in the barn or the stable.
Oh my God.
And they were just scared to death. And I don't know. I had one horse named Star that was a full blood stud horse, and nobody could even bother him but me. He would let me do anything with him. I could trim his feet or walk him or whatever I wanted to do. He was pretty wild, but not with me. And he had his mane braided, and I didn't know. I thought maybe the farrier had done it or something that came. And he said, no, I hadn't done anything, but I found out since then that they braid, horses' mane. I don't know if that's what did it or not, but I thought it was very strange. That horse had his mane braided like braids in a lady's hair. You know what I'm talking
about?
So,
I mean,
I don't know how it did it, but something did it. I can't think of anybody close enough to it to do it. But They never went back in the stalls again or the barn. They stayed in that corner at night. And they did calm down, but they were not the same at night.
Wow, that's so sad.
I don't know what caused it, but that's pretty much what happened at my farm. So thank God they didn't hurt me or none of my children. Of course, they weren't there because I would take them home in the evening. But that was pretty much what happened. And
wow, Darrell,
thank God for rebuking, because it does work. It did for me anyway.
Wow,
so I had to work for other people.
That's just absolutely another crazy story. And nothing I've ever heard of again. Okay.
I pretty much stopped Bigfoot researching since then. You know, I just didn't have the interest in it, but I was still worried why they were angry at me. And I did go into the woods another time to make myself feel better about them. And I did with that occurrence, but I mainly just researched with my two best friends, Martin Groves, 41-year friend. He was still on my bed. Him and Barton Nunnelly. He has a group called Inhumanoids, of course, plenty of great books out. And so with Martin Groves, who has had his encounter with Dogman in 1993. And he and I, those are the two people I mainly research with every month now, but we're mainly researching Dogman.
Now aren't you in a chapter in his book or something?
The second book he wrote is about our experience in the LBL in October of 22, last October.
What's the name of his book?
It's Beast Between the Rivers, his first one, and the second one is the same. And I believe his book is sold out numerous times, and it's still selling out. But, you know, Martin's probably the only person I know of that's ever lived a Dogman encounter after being attacked by him. And,
wow.
You know, he was like me, you know, he couldn't talk about these things. I was an elected official from a small town, and he was sheriff's department.
Yeah, what are you going to say? Are you going to say, I saw, you know, Bigfoot and they terrorized me? You know?
Yeah, and, you know, it's people think you're crazy, you know.
Yeah.
And 30 years ago, especially, 25 years ago, you didn't tell everybody your encounters. You know, now we've got groups, and thank God for podcasts and radio shows like and groups. We can now talk about it. So
which is great.
That was the biggest reason I started my group. I wanted people to be able to tell their encounters and experiences and not be criticized for it. And, you know, that's the reason for having it, because there's a lot of people out there that's held this in for years. And I know after my first experience, I was just terrified with nightmares for nearly 7 years. If I hadn't had my second encounter on the river, I don't think I would have ever overcome that. But that changed my life a lot too, so I felt a lot better. A lot of these creatures are good. They're not all bad. They're like people. There's good and bad. So, and they are people. These are not, my opinion, they're not an ape or a monkey. They're a type of people. So I know the ones on the river, they're all very intelligent. They're elusive. They can read your thoughts. They know your intentions. And, you know, I tell people all the time, well, if you go in the woods with cameras and guns, you're not going to, chances are, if you do see one, you're lucky. Because trail cameras don't work very often. They tear them down. They'll take them off the tree. They'll stomp them and smack them. I mean, they're not going to, if you want to get rid of a Bigfoot or force people around your house, put up lights, plenty of them, and put up trail cameras, and you won't have a problem because they're not going to come around. So,
right. Yeah, exactly. Right. Right, because they're too intelligent for that. Well, I mean, what another great show, okay? And
well, thank you. It's just a true experience of what happened to me. So
another crazy one I've never heard of. I mean, wow. You know, that's why we're doing 2 shows here. But I like I said before, you know, I really appreciate you coming on and talking about this because, you know, it's just so bizarre to me. and that.
You know, I would have never thought this would have happened to me, but it did. And, you know, I'm sure there's other people out there that had probably even worse experiences or maybe even better experiences. I hope that it turned out as good for them as it did me. So.
Yeah, and they can find you on Facebook and get on there.
Facebook, yeah, Bigfoot believers and other creatures, and you know, we would love to have you join us. And of course, you always want to put your podcast on our group, and we have a lot of podcasters that do. You're more than welcome to anybody to do that and come and check out, you know, Zoe's group and her podcast, maybe not her group, but her podcast, Paranormal Extractions. They're really good. She's very professional. I'm glad to be on here with her and honored to be here. Thank you for asking me.
Yeah, thank you. So, wow, what another great story. I just want to say thank you again for coming on. I think people know where to find you. Plus I'll put all the information down on where to find you, or they can contact me if they don't, if they don't understand or something. But so I just want to say thanks again for coming on and sharing your story and giving all this great information out to people that have had bad experiences and don't want to talk about them, because in my experience, I've never heard anything like this. So they have a place to go.
Honestly, there's a lot of people like Robin McRae's one of my admins, and of course BArton Nunnelly and Martin Groves and Jennifer Appleton, Sharon Buck, Carter Bishart, Kenny Busby, Vicki Brown. I don't want to leave anybody out. There's Rena K. Puckett. A lot of these people in my group have, some of them have had even more experiences than I have. Snuffy Dyer, he's one of my admins, and I have so many good moderators and experts too. But those people have had some tremendous experiences, even more than mine. So I'm just a select one of the few that are able to tell my experience. So I appreciate you having me again. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much. And you never know, maybe we'll hear another story. Actually, I have someone coming on that you introduced me to that has some very unusual stories, so they're not all about Bigfoot. And she will be coming on, I don't know, a couple weeks or something, that you turned me on to, and I really appreciate that.
Sure.
For some reason, I can't remember her name right now, Darrell.
It's Robin. I believe it's Robin.
Yeah, it's Robin, and she is so nice too. So
you don't find a better person than her. Jennifer, most all the people, Carter Bishart, all my admin people and moderators too. A lot of them have had incredible encounters and experiences, so hers is probably, I don't think you'll hear any more experiences than she's had. They've had some experiences. Sharon Buck has had some experiences with Dogman too. But Sharon's scared to death now, and Carter Bichart's got some great books too that he's got out that are great reads, and all of them they're phenomenal, their stories they've got, and what they've encountered, and abductions too. I've never been abducted, and thank God I haven't, hope I never am, but these people live with this stuff every day of their life.
Yeah, I know. So they can go on your page and ask, and get some info. So I appreciate you having that there for people, and very credible website. You're very credible. There's a lot of credible people on there.
Well, I appreciate that. I think there's a lot of credible groups. Jeremiah Fountain, close friend, Shane Michael Crisp, Barb Hartman has a great group. There's so many great groups. I can't even say their name them all, but they're all kind of sister groups to us. They're all in my group, and I share their group with them too. And there's other ones too. Scott Pace, don't forget that guy's got a great group. He's a great guy too. Mind speaks with his creatures. So But anyway, I won't talk all night. Thank you, Zoe, for having me. Honored to be here.
Well, thank you, and I'll have to check out those other people. I really appreciate it, Darrell, and I know that we're going to be talking.
Hey, don't forget Kathy Westerman. She's awesome researcher. Kathy Westerman.
Okay, well,
absolutely phenomenal.
You gotta send that to me. So.
Right.
Okay.
I left out somebody. Don't be offended if I left you out. I didn't mean to. So
okay.
Thanks.
All right. Oh no. I just want to say thank you so much, and unpleasant surprise stories, but pleasant that you were able to come on and share.
Thank you, Zoe.
I'm going to say goodbye to everybody. Thank you so much for watching, and any questions, go and see Darrell, or just ask me and I can lead you in the right direction. Okay, thank you for watching. Bye.
Thanks for watching.